What's up, everyone? Pags here at MEI Studio. We're going to take a break from the Electro Voice Marathon and look at a company that's been around for a little under 30 years now. I'm talking about Royer Labs and specifically the Royer 121. If this is your first time here, or if you're returning to this channel and haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button. It'll really help us grow the channel. And don't forget to tap the like and notify buttons as well. As we do here, let's take a look at the history of Royer Labs and a little about its founder and namesake, David Royer. David found interest in music at an early age. His parents were big classical and folk music fans and exposed David to this music constantly. When David turned 21, he decided to try his hand at recording and purchased an Ampex 960 tape recorder and a couple of Radio Shack mics. He quickly learned that the mics were the weak link in his chain and began experimenting with AKG microphones and capsules. Once he heard the difference between a professional grade mic and compared it to the consumer grade things that he was using, he was hooked on mics. Soon after, he joined the Navy, where he was trained as a sonar technician. The fundamentals that he learned while in the Navy in regards to acoustics and electronics would help pave the way for his post-military service business endeavors. He started Mojave Audio out of his garage, where he was building microphones that used available AKG capsules. At the time, you could buy AKG capsules directly from the company. I wish that was still true. Before long, he was bringing his creations to the likes of big-time engineers such as Bob Clearmountain and Mutt Lang. Around this time, David also went to work for a company that was building compressors and mic pre's called DVA. That company would wind up folding due to poor management and lack of funding, according to David, but David still had his Mojave mic business and things were manageable. Then, one day, everything changed for him when a Reslow mic came across his bench. Probably not too different from this in our collection. David figured out how to re-ribbon the microphone, and an obsession was formed. By 1997, David had designed a mic that looked suspiciously similar to the Bang & Olufsen BM3 or BM4s. He brought the mic to his friend Rick Parada for evaluation. Rick had owned Baby O recorders in LA in the 1980s and had started a little company called Matchless Amplifiers in the early 90s. Rick loved the idea of a new modern ribbon mic and joined up with David Royer, John Jennings, and Raphael Beafonye to form Royer Labs. Once Royer Labs was flying high, David renewed his interest in condenser microphones and put focus back on Mojave Audio. Around this time, David was writing articles for Tape Op magazine and offering schematics, kits, and tips on modding the new Chinese microphones that were flooding the market in the late 90s and early 2000s. This was my first exposure to David's work. In an upcoming video, we're going to be looking at what became known as the Royer Tube Mod and eventually became the Mojave 201 mic. When our studio moved to our third location in the mid-2000s, I began my search for something different to record guitars with. Something that didn't sound like bees in a bottle or nails on a chalkboard. 757. After speaking with a few engineers at an AES show, I was pointed to Royer Labs and the 121. I saw the price tag of around $1,200 to $1,300 if memory serves and was kind of like, nah. Then I started seeing the mic in all these trade magazines and testimonials online and thought to myself, if I was around back in the 1940s and had the opportunity to buy a U-47, would I? Knowing what I know now, of course I would. And seeing how that there was virtually no one else making ribbon mics at the time, with the exception of maybe Coles, I figured this could wind up being the next classic mic that everyone would be looking to own in 20 years. Of course, not thinking that they'd still be making these mics in 20 years, but Royer's story seems long from having an end in sight. I basically blew a big chunk of the studio's gear budget that year on getting the mic, and have to say, I don't have one regret. My mics are probably about 15 years old or more now, and are still nothing short of amazing on guitars. I have used it on other instruments in the past, but honestly, it's just the guitar mic, and I have yet to use any other mic that even comes close to it. I still come back to the 121 every single time. Royer Labs went on to create active ribbon mics, which had even better output than the passive mics, stereo versions, live versions, and they continue to put out new models regularly, as does Mojave Audio. There are a couple of videos here on YouTube that you can watch that shows the actual construction of the Royer 121. I'll link them down below in the description. The process to me is fascinating. As someone that's built and designed some ribbon mics, the methods used for the body, ribbon, and motor construction are just amazing. Wish I had those machines in the shop here. Perhaps I'd be building more mics instead of talking about them on YouTube. If you're interested in the construction of these mics, please be sure to check these videos out. They certainly do a better job than I could of explaining it and saves us some time here. If you're interested in the development and history of ribbon mics in general, please check out our ribbon mic video, link up top, and I'll put it down below as well. Since this mic is just a beast on guitar, we're going to focus our attention on just that. But I'm also going to dive into something slightly different here, since the 121 has some unique attributes that allow it to sound a million different ways on the same source. As with any mic, so much depends on its placement when recording. I pretty much always use our Dynamount X1R when recording guitar, and you're about to find out why. Before we start moving the mic around, there's one feature of the 121 that everyone should be aware of. The front sounds a bit different than the back. While this kind of makes mid-side recording a little wonky, it's almost like having two different mics in one. Let's just take a quick listen to some distorted guitar, since it's the easiest to tell the difference because of all the harmonic content going on. Now, we didn't even move the mic, we just turned it around 180 degrees. That being said, you do need to be mindful that this mic, like many other ribbons, are a figure 8 pattern. When recording with the mic, it's a good idea not to have anything solid behind it that could wind up reflecting the signal back to the mic, which can cause some weird phase and comb filtering issues. For a long time, the magic guitar mic setup was a 121 married to an SM57, the 121 to get the thickness and the 57 to get the fizzle. They even made a special mic clip to hold both mics together so that the capsules would be properly aligned. It's called the Royer Axe Mount, and it'll set you back about $50 USD for just the clip. I personally don't like adding extra phase problems to my recordings, so I like to use the 121 by itself when recording guitar, but we can take a listen to what it sounds like for a second with both the mics together. So you could do that and eat up 2 channels, or just move the mic to where it sounds good on its own. Let's take a listen to the 121 in various spots on the speaker cone to hear what happens to the tone as it's moved around. If I hadn't mentioned it already, this is a passive ribbon mic. Passive ribbon mics tend to need a couple of things: a good preamp with lots of clean gain, and a preamp that has ample impedance. If you're an engineer and the whole impedance thing still is a mystery to you, check out our impedance video. It's long and boring, but it might provide some insight as to why certain mics sound better with certain preamps. As a quick reminder, let's put the 121 through the Cloudlifter CLZ so we can hear how the tone changes as the impedance changes. Okay, what we're going to see here is the impedance on the left-hand side along with the peak level, and we're going to see the waveform play in the middle, and the frequency response will be playing as well. Please note also that the volume is going to change pretty drastically as we go through these, so adjust your speakers or headphones if you need to now. All right, so what we can see here from this example is that the lower impedances equal a lower output from the microphone. And if you look closely at the frequency response as they were going by, you would notice that there's a lot less bass as well with lower impedances. And there's also a point of diminishing returns, like somewhere between 3 and 7K. We're not really getting any more gain out of it, and the frequency shift really isn't happening anymore as well. Now let's take a listen to the Royer 121 on some clean guitar and overdrive guitar as well. Okay, so there's no opinion to give for this mic. It's been my go-to guitar mic for over a decade now. With over 60 great mics in our locker right now, nothing has dethroned this thing. Are you a fan of Royer mics? Do you regularly reach for a 121 or any one of the other great mics that they produce? Do you have any suggestions for any other Royer ribbon mics that I should take a look at? Did you find the link to the P120 contest entry? If the contest is still going on, it's somewhere before this section and definitely not after. Head back and look for the contest entry link above. As always, if you gotten anything from today's video, hit that like and subscribe button. It'll really help us out. If you're interested in studio mics and other things audio related, hit that notify button so you'll be notified when we put up a new video. Well, that's it for this time. This is Pags, signing off.